Well, I'm gonna sing a song for y'all to start it off. You know, Judah, praise must go first. Oh, well, I'm tired and weary, but I must toil on till Nazar becomes to call me away. Oh, yeah, where the morning is bright and the lamb is the light, and the night is as dark as the day. Oh, yeah. And there will be peace in the valley for me someday. There will be peace in the valley for me. Oh Lord, I pray there'll be no sadness, no sorrow, no troubles I'll see. There will be peace in the valley for me. Oh, yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Hallelujah.
beautiful.
Hallelujah.
And get
And get
I'm trying to rattle up the ancestors to bring them back, bring them in today, to charge the atmosphere. Because the first thing that I wanted to discuss is Ezekiel 37, the valley of dry bones. So, you know, Ezekiel 37 is basically where we are at right now. It says, the hand of Nzambi was upon me and carried me out in the spirit of Nzambi and set me down in the midst of the valley, which was full of bones, and caused me to pass by them round about. And behold, there were very many in the open valley, and lo, they were very dry. And he said to me, Son of man, can these bones live? And I answered, O Nzambi, thou knowest. And again he said to me, prophesy unto these bones, and say unto them, O ye dry bones, hear the word of Nzambi. So I'm going to stop there for a minute. And we're going to unpack that a little bit. So he says, the hand of Nzambi was upon him and carried him to see this valley of dry bones. And they were dry. They were past dehydrated. So they were at the point where they were almost dust. And that's significant because even now, as we're literally fulfilling that prophecy, we see some of our people like they're just blowing away in the wind. And they're aimless. And Tata Nzambi said to him, prophesy to the dry bones, and say unto these dry bones, hear the words of Tata Nzambi. So our brethren, we have the responsibility of speaking into the dry bones, speaking life into the dry bones, into each other. It's a huge responsibility because we ourselves are learning. Where every day we learn more, but being awake, what we call awake right now, because he says the hand of Satan Zambi was upon him. And that's where we are. The hand of Satan Zambi is upon us. In other words, he woke up and told him to prophesy to his brethren. And the fact that the hand of Satan Zambi is on us, he's making us aware, he's making us understand, he has given us eyes to see and ears to hear, means that we have to prophesy life into our brethren. The reason that he has awakened us at this time is that we prophesy life into our brethren. And you know, a lot of times I see people speaking ill of our brothers. We are privileged to be able to see and to hear, and there's still so much that we have to learn. And it's like we can't seem to understand that, you know, there but for the grace of God go we, there for the grace of Tata Nzambi go we. We can't seem to understand that when we were like that, like a couple of years ago, and it was because of the hand of Tata Nzambi upon us that he gave us the privilege to see and to hear and to understand a little better so that we can help them. So our responsibility as waking up now is to prophesy to our brethren, speak life into them, speak life into our brethren. We have to constantly pray for those who are not awake yet, who he has not awakened, and the less fortunate, our brethren. He didn't say which ones, just said prophesy to them. So as we are given that charge to prophesy, to speak into our brethren, we have to take that seriously. And we don't pull them down. And I hear people, oh, what's wrong with them? Like they can't see. No, they can't. And we were like that 2 minutes ago, you know? We all understand what happened to us was deeply spiritual. So when you're under the influence of spiritual chains and spiritual bondage, the enemy operates in the realm of irrationality. So there's no reason and you can reason with somebody who's still under the chain of bondage. So we pray and we keep praying for our brethren. We do not speak ill of them because our words have power. Just by saying things, we can bring curses. We can speak curses. We can speak chains into our brethren's lives. So if you see something, you're better off not saying anything, because especially now, the more we level up, for want of a better term, the more power our words have. So we have to use our words wisely and speak positivity, because whatever we put into the atmosphere, we charge the atmosphere with it. So that was the main thing I wanted to speak about today, to 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 say to us that we just have to be so careful about our words from here on out, because our words are extremely powerful. Our words are a two-edged sword. Our words are a lethal weapon. So choose them wisely, say them wisely, and prophesy to our brethren. Let there be peace in the valley. So I'm gonna just put that out there and open it up for discussion. I want to hear what the rest of us have to say about it. The floor is open for discussion.
I agree with it, because it is true. If we speak and what we speak is negative, that's low vibing. But if we speak and we speak life into a person or our families or whatever, then we're doing what the Father wants us to do.
Yeah. Yes. You know, there's a lot, as we see, you know, the enemy is like a roaring lion.
Seeking whom he may devour.
And he has declared war. He is
Mhm.
throwing out spirits out there left and right, turning us against each other. Goodness. Oh my gosh. And so we got to pray. We got to pray. Because we have the weapon of mass destruction. And our words help, our words can heal. And it really is our responsibility to prophesy, speak life into our brethren.
You know,
And
the words that we speak, what you were saying, Royal Daughter, is so true. And we, unless we're careful and listen to ourselves, you know, it's so many times we can just speak curses into the lives of our children and into the lives of our people. You know, where the parents will tell the child at a young age, you're just like your daddy. You're not going to be nothing, just like your daddy was. You know, and your mind is like a recorder, and it has a playback button. And our children and everything can just rehearse in their mind what was spoken to them.
yeah.
And our people now, it was bad enough being raised all of our life, not knowing that we're the royal people. You know, we always thought that we were nobody. We were always trying to find where we should be placed.
Yeah, I always thought I was a Gentile.
You know, every nation of people knew where they were from, knew their land. They were, you know, they were somebody. But we were like no man's child, just wandering around, you know, just taking on the labels that the Gentiles would give us. Every 20 years, they would change the label. But the words that we speak are really important. And we need to break those curses. It's curses on our children. It's curses on our people because of what's been spoken to them. So you really spoke much truth. So we need to start prophesying,
Yes.
prophesying the promises of Tata Nzambi into our lives, into into other lives.
Yes.
And just watch it take effect.
Yes.
So the words that we speak are really important. We can either curse or bless.
Yes. And
Yes.
as time goes by, our words have more power.
Yes, you said something, Queen Royal Daughter, earlier that stuck with me, where you says we're leveling up. It means more power is coming.
Yeah.
That is so interesting. And I find it interesting that July 5th, the wicked Kadi and Bimba is calling themselves to turn on the quote unquote CERN machine to increase power, to open up another portal. But that power that they're trying to increase to, all power is coming to the Bananzami.
Yeah. Thank you, Kadi Pemba.
Right.
And the next move is because they're terrified.
Yeah. I agree at 100% with what you said, Queen Royal Daughter, about our words. That we need to speak words of encouragement and upliftment to our Bantu sisters and brothers in our family, our children and grandchildren and so forth. That because the words that we speak in love will encourage them, will make them feel and know that they are important, that they are somebody, that they are not a low life like the Manzungas and Mandelis say that we are. And then also you said something about they have the weapons of mass destruction. Our words are weapons
of mass destruction.
So whatever we say, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, has power. So the words that we speak of upliftment to uplifting words to our family and Bantu sisters and brothers will be words of power to empower them to go out and do what they need to do. And then in turn, the words that we speak against the Kadia Pembas will destroy them.
Correct. And so see, the more we speak life and increase to our brethren, the more we rise, we don't speak because it's automatic.
Yeah.
We uplift each other. We're literally pulling them down.
Yeah. And that's where Contwati comes into motion.
Correct.
If not in unity, then the power, we have power within ourselves, but when we are unified, we have more power.
Yeah.
That's why Tata Nzambi spoke so much about forgiving your brothers, because he understands that it's not your brother coming at you. It's
The spirit.
Yes, spirits that are using them to come at you. But if you dismiss the spirit that's in him, he can't use them again. He gonna use somebody else.
Yes.
But we who understand have to pray for that person who is being used, because that's how we get our victory.
Yes.
We pray against them. And so that's why he has given us authority over these things, to speak over these things and to declare over these things. And the thing about that is that if you speak against your brother, if he gives you this power that's coming, and your hatred is to your brother, you're just gonna turn on your brother. That's not what he wants. So we have to get that. We have to get that part of us, that part of our character together. That hatred that we have been taught for one another. We have to get that straight, because he's not going to give you a sword to kill your brother.
Right. And also when we are hateful like that, we're really hating ourselves. So his word says, love your neighbor as yourself. So if you don't love yourself, no way can you love your neighbor. And so that's a display of the hatred for yourself when you see them perpetrating on their brothers and sisters.
And we're
Yeah.
also hating on Tata and Nzambi.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
Because
when
we
you
look
hate your brother and sister.
we
Yeah,
look
because
like
he's
this.
in them.
Mhm.
So if you hate brother, you hate Nzambi because we look like him.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
And so that's gonna hurt you in the coming future. He makes an appearance. Are you him? Automatic but for hating, he makes an appearance.
That's
Yeah.
Like us.
Yeah.
that's posted in the group where the person was getting the laser to take away the melanin out of their
Yes.
skin. Sad.
Yes. I'm telling you, within the next 2 or 3 years, melanin is gonna be king.
Oh yeah.
Because our
It
survival,
already is.
yeah, but our survival is gonna depend on it. And we're gonna be so grateful that we
Yeah.
have
Yes.
melanin.
Yeah.
Because it was already predicted in the Bible. It says the sun will be 7 times hotter. So he who knew the end from the beginning knew this was coming. So he equipped his children with everything they need, literally, included especially melanin. So, because one of their weapons that they used against us always was sickness. They brought the Indians blankets with smallpox.
Fox.
They always brought sickness like they did now. This time they brought a sickness. It's always a sickness. And so Tata Nzambi is going to use their own trick against them. Because when they get the sickness, when the sickness comes back at them, they have no defense. One of the things they always did is they give the people the sickness that they knew they had no defense against. Or so it was targeted at them.
Mhm.
And it's the same thing now. The illnesses that they bring are targeted at a certain people. So when it comes to the sun is 7 times hotter, it's gonna be targeted. There's none of us that have control over Tata Nzambi.
True. Exactly.
So this is why it's important. It's so important to forgive our brothers. And even if you have to pray, Father, show me how to forgive my brother. As long as you're working on it. Because if somebody offends you, healing begins with saying sorry, with an apology. And some of our brothers will never apologize to us either, So you, in the middle of your hurt and trauma, have to find a way to forgive. And that's so like the character of Tata Nzambi. So even as you learn the people that are unapologetic to you, you become more and more like Tata Nzambi. And you're literally leveling up. So it's important for us, for in our walk, in our struggle, we all know the story of the 5 foolish virgins and the 5 wise virgins. The wise virgins took the time and they were leveling up. So that by the time the bride they were ready, because the fuel is fake. One that sent me is fake. On faith, by the time the one that sent me comes, you're ready. And that's one of the things. The one that sent me was given to us as our comforter. He was left here on earth with us. So we have always had access to him. We have the potential to be like the disciples, like Isaiah, but we were so far away from him. We were not fueling up. So the longer you take the fuel up, the longer it takes you to reach to the point where you have victory. So we can operate in the Muandan Semi like the disciples did, like Isaiah did, but we just have to get there. So it's on us to get there. So anybody else has any comments?
I like to say something. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. Saying something to not just your children, but but anyone, but I'm focusing in on things that you may say to your children and not fulfill what you say you're going to do. If telling your son or your daughter that you're going to do this, you're going to do that, and they are looking forward to you doing what you said, and then you don't do it, and after this has become a habit of you not fulfilling your promises, I think it has a very deep effect on your children. And I have an example. It's that situation where he promises his sons that he was going to do certain things and did not fulfill them. And as a result of that, they don't want to have anything to do with him now. Matter of fact, one of them has even changed his name. So it's very important that if we, and like you said, what we say is very powerful, and it could change the life of a person, even your own, and I just wanted to add that part in there. But that is very important to make your promises come forward and not just, let them go,
What you said is very powerful, because we can all learn parenting tips from Tata Nzambi. He is the ultimate father. He is the ultimate father. And we who understand that we could stand on his word, we could stand in faith on what he says. What you're saying is absolutely true. The children have to be able to stand on the word of their fathers. That is so powerful, and it's impactful, and it affects them for their whole life. You can change their life by doing it. Yes. And even it's never too late for us as parents, because there's no parent on earth that hasn't made a mistake. I used to say to my daughter, well, you didn't come with instructions. So we've all made mistakes as parents. And it's never too late as long as we have that breath. It's
Yeah.
never too late to go back and apologize. It's never too late to ask for forgiveness.
Absolutely.
And we are supposed to be the example as parents. Now that we know and we understand Tata Nzambi, because look at what our ancestors did to Tata Nzambi. And he has so much forgiveness,
Yes.
so much mercy.
Yes.
So that's the character. We have to adopt his character if we want to be exactly like him, because that's who we're trying to be, him. So we have to look at him and learn how to behave from him. He has so much mercy, so much grace, so much benevolence that sometimes, like we as parents, we get so mad at our children and we're like, I give up. I want nothing to do with you. I want, but we're still expecting grace from Tata Nzambi. So we have to examine ourselves and our motives. There are times you have to put boundaries between your children, and you have to let them know you can't cross this line. There are times you have to do that, but you still have to go down and pray.
Right.
And speak words of life into them, because that can change them when the physical cannot change them. The spiritual, they have to change in the spiritual first. So we war on our knees like Job did. Job's children was praying. Job was inside praying. He prayed for his children until they are no more. David, when his child was given the sentence, the child that he had with Uriah's wife, David prayed. He knew that child was sentenced to death, and he prayed. And when they came and told him his child was dead, he got up and he ate. And he said, "There's nothing more I could do, but while he had life, I could pray." And that's the posture we're supposed to have. When we speak these words, we charge the atmosphere. And just by us charging the atmosphere, we can change things. So we have to practice to speak life, speak positivity, because our words have energy. Our intentions have energy. Our emotions have energy. And what we put out there will manifest, because as we level up, we're more powerful. Our words are more powerful and they have more impact. So we have to be careful what we're putting out there, even in the privacy of your own home. The words that you put out into the atmosphere can charge the atmosphere and change it, good or bad. So we have to think about that.
So true. Me and my husband 33 being married on June 30th. And no marriage is perfect. And especially in the beginning of our marriage, I had been a single parent for, like 10 years before me and my husband met. And I consider myself a strong woman. I had to be a strong woman because of the responsibility that I had. But, kind of fast forward, we, had issues, arguments and this and that. And it was times where either he or I would like come home from work and I would just sit in the car for a few minutes and I would just speak, love and speak peace
Yes.
and speak understanding. And I just spoke the attributes of Tata Nzambi, before I even came home. And, same as him, because a lot of times we, brought the stresses of our job home. And, those spirits you bring home with you. But it's like when we even spoke things in the act, and we could just tell the difference.
Yeah.
One occasion, a spirit came in our home by way of a fish, and all hell was breaking loose, and we had to stop, drop, and like, what in the world did happen? And come to find out, a spirit came in our home by way of a fish that someone gave my husband,
Wow.
put in his fish tank. It was a demonic spirit with that fish.
Wow.
And then once we got rid of that fish, the storm was calm.
Yeah.
But it's really, I'm just saying all this to say, it's just really important. This lesson is really good today, because it's like, it's really important that the words that we speak, even being fun, somebody being comical, and say, man, you sick, get out of here.
Yes.
Listen to what just got spoken into that person's life.
Yes.
Sickness got spoken into that person's life. Girl, you crazy. You just as crazy as could be. And then when somebody start doing things that's crazy, listen to what just got spoken into that person's life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, we really have to be careful of the selection of words that we use. We could be comical while not yet speaking, destruction into that person's life.
Yeah. Yes. This is why it was so important for the powers that be for us not to know who we were. Because once we understand the power that we have and how responsible we are to be with it, then, it changes our whole attitude. I'm sure when we leave here today, we will change the way we say things, we see things, we understand things, and we do things. So once you know the power that your words hold, you will be more responsible. And your words, even the things you say, can open up portals. And things, like you said, are going wrong, and you don't know, you don't remember that you said something, and you opened up a portal. Because the accuser of our souls stands day and night waiting up, So the minute you mess up, he snatches it and runs with it and say, look, he gave me a license. He opened up the portal.
Yeah.
Words. So, as parents, as brothers, as sisters, as queens and kings, we have to go back when we pray and say, Tata Nzambi, if I have opened up any portals, please close them. If I have offended anybody, I renounce it. If I have cursed anybody, I renounce it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
When it comes to our children and our brethren and each other. So we have to clear the air when it comes to us. Correct. No corrupt communication. So we have to clear the air, close a portal that you open.
Yes, I think that, hello? I think that, yes, not just speaking words that saying words that come from you, is another thing is how those words are put out of you Because
Energy.
I'm saying that that energy that's coming out of you, and your not just your voice, but your whole body is actually sending off signals that indicate to someone else of what you're saying and how they're receiving it.
Yes.
You know, it could be a negative or a positive, and depends on how that person or what he
Received.
saw when you said it, that came from your body movements, your body language speaks very strongly along with the words that you're saying.
It
Yes.
radiates. Yeah.
Yes, you know, and you can say something and it's taken totally different than what you meant it to be, based on your body language.
Yes.
You know, and I think that's a very good aspect of for words can be.
Very
And
important.
and
Yeah.
thoughts.
Yes.
Yes. Mama Brenda, Mama Nicholas, you had a comment? Your hand was up? You're muted if you're trying to speak. We can't hear you. Yeah, we still can't hear you, Mama Nicholas. Okay, Mama Nicholas, we can't hear you. So
Yes, sorry, I stepped away, so I didn't realize you had called me. I stepped away for a little while.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I just came back, thanks. I just wanted to agree with what you said about the importance of apologizing when we have said something that we should not have said, something that's not uplifting, something that's not helpful, the importance of apologizing. Something that came to me also as I listened to you speaking is the importance of waiting. Because I think a lot of the time we say something that's negative in a time of emotion. Somebody may say something, whether it's a child or another person, or we may hear something, we see something, we hear about something, and in the moment of strong emotion, we just say what the first thing that comes to mind. So it's important, I think, for us to develop the habit, especially if something negative, if we get a negative feeling, to wait a while before speaking, so that we have time to process the information, because as time passes, you may see things differently, or you may find that there's a better way to express what you want to say rather than saying it in a way that can cause trouble for somebody else or cause trouble further down the road. I just wanted to mention that the importance of us waiting before we speak out, thinking about it and giving ourselves time to process what we heard so that we can respond in a way that's positive. Not telling an untruth, but respond in a way that's positive. That's what I wanted to say. Thanks.
Yes, so important, because so many times we rush and we didn't hear properly, and we rush to judgment, or we rush to act or respond, and then find out that, we didn't listen properly. We didn't process it properly. We didn't take the time. So what you said is so important.
That scripture comes to mind. It is based on what you were saying, Royal Daughter, that life and death are truly in the power of the tongue.
Yes, yes. And like these scriptures, like I always say, the ancestors, they all gave us all the information. They put out as much out there, all the keys for us so that we don't fail, because everything hinges on us being successful. So they put out so much out there if we would take the time and learn. Granted, we couldn't understand. We've been reading those things for so long and we couldn't understand them. But now that we have fresh eyes, now that we have eyes to see and ears to
Just to
hear,
hear. Mhm.
you know, we have to look at them again and get the understanding, ask for the understanding, because it's incredible how every time you read the same thing, you get a different understanding as the Nzambi gives you understanding. So it's so important, you know. Mama Brenda, when she did her teaching about the speech and vibration and airwaves and frequencies, this ties in exactly to what she was saying, because we charge the atmosphere. We charge the atmosphere with our words. We charge the atmosphere with our expressions. And like Brother Edward said, just the emotion, the way you put it out there. And whatever you put out there, that's what the atmosphere is going to remain in the atmosphere until
Take it back.
yes, you change.
Clear it up, transform it.
Yes. So we always have the opportunity to go back and clean up our mess. You know, be so responsible with our words, because our power, we want to use it in the right way. And we have to save our energy, because you know Tata Nzambi said we will be his battering ram. With you I will destroy the nations. With you I will do this and I will do that. So we gotta save our energy for that.
Yes. And a lot of times we have said something and it came out the wrong way, not what you really wanted to say, but you don't have a chance to correct it.
Yes.
You know, I mean, for a moment of time, it's just gone and you can't change it because you put it out there and it was put out the wrong way. It's not what you intended to say,
yes,
but what came out of your mouth, you know, and
yes,
so
yes,
I guess we have to, in that case, you have to just pray and ask
yes.
Tata Nzambi to forgive you and not let that person or whoever it was receive it the wrong way.
And see, you know, see why Tata Nzambi is so patient. And he tells
Yeah.
us to be patient as well. You know, there's a saying, taste your words before you put them out, because you might have to eat them again.
Yeah.
So it's a practice. It's something that we have to practice now to learn how to be responsible, because it's huge. This is huge, and it determines a lot of people's lives and a lot of people's future, even our own, you know. So it is important to always think about what you're saying and how you're going to say it
Before you say it, yes.
before you say it, because once you put it out there, it's in the atmosphere. You can't take it back.
Yeah.
You don't know the impact it's going to have.
Right.
And I'm also thinking about the time where Josiah cursed the fig tree, and overnight that fig tree died.
Yes. Sure did.
That is a powerful, powerful thing. Imagine, because remember, Isaiah is the word. And the word was from the beginning, and the word created everything.
Yeah.
Imagine your creator walking up to you and you don't recognize him.
Wow.
And that's exactly where we're gonna be if we don't recognize our Creator when He comes back.
Mm.
He was showing us, if just like this fig tree, I will do to you just like this fig tree, because you're supposed to recognize me. Because He said, I will say, depart from me, I know you not. Because we have not leveled up, we have not met Him halfway. Because He said He's the bridegroom. When the bridegroom comes, the bride has to walk up the aisle. He's not coming to meet you. You have to meet Him.
Mm.
So very powerful, that fig tree example, because our faith if we don't recognize our Creator.
And because of all of this doctrination,
Yes.
we've got to pull the layers off of us.
Yes. So this is our time. That's what, the 5 foolish virgin and the 5 wise virgin. This is our time to figure all that out. Because when He comes, He will say, depart from me. If you don't recognize Him, He won't recognize you either. That's it. You shrivel up like a fig tree. That's some serious stuff.
Wow. It's sad because those that are really stuck on the fact that that person with the long brown hair and the blue eyes,
Right.
his
Yes.
parents, and they're not. It's kind of funny, really, because Tata Nzambi could show up and they not recognize them because they're looking for somebody with
white.
long hair, blue eyes. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Exactly what I was saying.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's why what Nkosi said is so powerful with the fig tree, because that is exactly what we're trying to say. When we don't recognize Him, He will not recognize us. Because a lot of people are looking for blonde hair, blue eye.
Yeah. Sad.
Now, and that's why, I said this to somebody this week. I said, that's why when the anti comes, a lot of them are going to flock to him, because
Mhm.
who they're looking for, who they have indoctrinated us for so long to see.
Right. Because that's how he's going to look.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. So when a brother walks up in there talking about I'm the Messiah, they'll be like,
Oh,
huh?
you better
Who
run.
They'll be like, you crazy, you crazy.
Yeah. You know how we like to say, ain't nothing good come out of us. You know what I'm saying? So that's why we have to undo all these things, peel away, like you said, peel away those layers,
Yeah.
the indoctrination, and pray to close those portals.
Yes. And remember how our forefathers treated Masa when he came to bring them out of Egypt.
Yes.
They're like, who are you?
You killed a man, you're gonna kill us too.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why that's so important, and that's one of the things that was up for discussion today. Are we gonna remember Lot's wife? You know what I'm saying?
Looking back. Mhm.
Correct. How are we gonna look? How is our exit look? How are we gonna handle it? What are we attached to that we can't give up?
Mhm.
That was the issue.
Yes. I don't.
The fact was she had things that she had left there. Her children were there. She had a comfortable life. So, and they did the same thing in Egypt. They wanted to and the onions. So how are we gonna be when the times come and it gets a little rough? Like we're gonna have to, most of us have a comfortable life. Are we gonna be able to walk away from all these things?
Or walk away from some loved ones.
Yes, absolutely, because she will look back because of her children.
Right? They're going to say, nah, I'm not going there.
Yeah,
I don't know nothing about that place.
yeah. That's one of the things that slavery has done to us, put fear.
Yes. Of everything.
Yes, and the most important thing is that we're gonna have to stand in faith. And fear is the opposite of faith. It destroys faith.
Mm-hmm.
So now, are we gonna walk away from our nice, comfortable lives and our bank accounts and our everything and say, I don't know where I'm going, but I'm going. If I perish, I perish.
Yes. Because these bank accounts don't do nothing anyway. At some point, it won't be worth the paper it's printed on.
Exactly.
So it's a conditioning of our mind.
And this is another reason why I think the Mundele has painted they intended to paint a negative image of the continent.
Yes.
They didn't want us to go.
Mm-mm.
And still trying to, but they're there.
Yes.
Absolutely. And still going.
That's something that, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying that's something that always used to amaze me. I used to say, but if Africa is such a terrible place, how come they always going there? I would hear Prince Harry say Africa is one of his favorite places and all of that. So I always wondered why they were going there if there's such terrible conditions down there.
That's true.
Have you all ever watched those videos where they go into these voodoo temples and they say, how they love to say all we do is voodoo, and they go into but they're there and
attracted to it.
Initiation, they go and get initiated too. They want to do these things too, but they're telling us don't go. Don't go.
Wow.
But they're up in there. So when they show you these documentaries, how they go deep into the jungle, in the middle of the darkness, but they're telling us don't go.
And go to the voodoo festivals.
Yes, every one. And they follow these voodoo doctors all over the world, wherever they are. They go to Haiti, they go, and they make these documentaries, and I'm like, but you're there.
Exactly. And then what do they love to call it? The dark continent.
Yeah.
But you're there. So it's bad if you're standing there. And if you're the good people, the good Christian, then why don't you get rid of it?
Right.
With your Christianity is supposed to, you think that your life, you're supposed to get rid of the darkness. How come you never got rid of the darkness?
Because they're dark.
The world.
And why are you there just loving, trying to get the gold and the diamonds, just stealing and everything of there?
Pilfering.
I read a couple of years ago, there was a UN truck that had coming out of Congo, and it was full of diamonds. And I said, no. They're doing humanitarian aid.
Please.
Man, that's such a dark. It is the dark continent because they made it dark.
They made it that way.
And this week I was reading about when the Israelites were in Egypt and they had those 3 days of darkness, how they had light.
In their area, it was light, but not where the Egyptians were.
Right.
That's amazing.
And so as we mentioned, how they brought darkness to the continent. As our light grows, their darkness is going to disappear, and that's why they wanted to keep us in darkness. Because if our light starts to shine, their darkness. So there's always the contrast. They will never bring light because they are
That's
darkness.
right.
And then the other strategy was they did not want those of us in the diaspora to link up and communicate with our people on the continent.
Yes. And I always thought about that. If you are saying that you are the Christian and you're civilized, why are you afraid of their words? Why are you afraid of their language? Why are you afraid of their religion? That never connected with me, because I'm like, but if you're the Christians, then why are you afraid?
Exactly.
Why can't they speak their words? Why can't they call on their God? You shouldn't be afraid. You know, there's a lot. This can go so deep.
Yes. I used to ask my pastor when I was still in the Christian church, Pastor, you know, if we can heal the sick and do things greater than Messiah, well, I called him JC back then, why are these people still coming up in here for 30, 40 years and still sick?
Exactly.
Exactly, yeah.
He said, oh, it's just not time yet. Huh?
Mm.
Not time to be healed?
Why did Nzambi give his disciples the power to heal?
Exactly.
Because he wanted his people to get healing. And that's coming back. That healing, because he said he is coming with healing in his wings. So as he takes over, we will see healing, miraculous healing.
Yes.
We've already started seeing it. So, you know, that's one of the things he always wanted to add to address, because that's the devil's domain, that sickness. And we're seeing so much sickness now. He's definitely, you know, coming with healing. That's why he's coming with healing in his wings. He understands there's going to be a lot of sickness when he gets here.
And they've even tried to make more sickness with what their plans, you know, just pushing it.
Of course, you know, you see, I see a lot of sickness now that I've never seen before, even little babies coming up with cancer and all these things, you know. But he talks about how they have fed us with their abominations.
Mm-hmm.
So it's intentional.
Yes.
It is.
He roaring lion, seeking whom he can devour.
Mm-hmm.
I went to the grocery store last week and I was telling my wife, I'm not going to eat any watermelons unless I find seeded watermelons with seeds.
Absolutely.
You know, every grocery store I went to, I asked them, do you have seeded watermelon? No, that we got a lot of watermelons, but they're seeded. And I told the manager, I said, we're not supposed to be eating. I said, that stuff that you're feeding us is not food.
Exactly.
I said, the Most High created fruits and vegetables to multiply and to produce with seeds.
Yes.
And they just stood there and looked at me with their eyes wide open.
Yes. And you know, like we got so lazy that we're like, oh no, we want seedless grapes and seedless. Oh my God. Eating their abomination.
I went to a open market. You know, as you travel down the highway and you see people that have fruit stands. And so we stopped and asked the lady, do you have any seedless watermelons? She said, those have little white ones in it. And I said, well, she didn't know squat. She didn't grow all that, because she would know that a watermelon with those little white seeds, they are nothing.
No, they got to have seeds. Tatans them with bearing seeds in them.
Mhm.
Yes.
themselves.
And they advertise them in such a way that we got to think that the seedless ones were superior.
Yes.
They would always make you think that seedless is better than seeded. So
Yes.
When I find them, I'll get them like Kroger's here in Texas. They will have them, and they are always $1 more than the others. But who
Yeah.
cares? And they're so good.
Yeah.
They're
They
real.
taste so much better. I
Mhm.
found them at the Amish had a fruit stand. So I pulled over on the side of the road and bought 3. And I told my wife, I said, I'm keeping these seeds.
Yes.
I save my seeds.
Yes.
Sure do.
You have to be so careful, even with the seeded ones, because some of the seeds, when you plant them, they don't
They
grow.
may not grow like corn. Monsanto has made it where the farmers that plant their seeds, they can't use any of the seeds left over because they don't grow. So
Yeah.
each year they have to go
they have
straight
to
to
buy.
the buy. Yeah,
So wicked. So wicked.
wicked.
Mhm.
And those
You know,
things,
I have another fruit to share. This may blow your mind. It blew our mind. I went into Sam's Club maybe a couple of months ago, and I saw yellow kiwis in there.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
the kiwi looked the same on the outside, but on the inside, it's
It's yellow.
called yellow gold.
Yeah.
And I said, what kind of kiwi is that? And I shied away from it and I didn't buy any. So my husband went to Sam's a couple of weeks ago and he brought 2 packs, one of the regular kiwi and then the yellow gold. I said, you brought these? He said, yeah. And I'm looking at the carton, and the regular kiwi that we've been used to eating, the green kiwi, when you cut the kiwi, it's green inside. That is a hybrid. The real kiwi is the yellow one.
wow.
Wow.
You
Yeah,
peel the
it
skin,
sure
you peel
is.
the skin off of the kiwi, and it's a yellow gold. That is the non-GMO kiwi.
Wow.
Really?
Wow.
The green
Much
kiwi
sweeter.
is a hybrid, and the yellow kiwi is delicious.
Wow.
Unbelievable. You can taste the difference in that kiwi. So the real kiwi is the yellow gold one.
Yellow gold.
So they're only putting out what they want you to have, on the market.
Yeah.
They're holding back on that. I don't know why.
I
It's
know.
still,
I've never seen that kiwi before. I've only seen them in Sam's Club.
yeah.
They want to try to starve us from nutrients and everything else that they can.
But that's why it's so important, as Mama Brenda had posted it this week, to pray over your food. We
Yes.
thought it was something our parents did, and we hated it to wait to say grace. Back to what we originally were speaking about, our speech can reorganize the chemical content of food.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
important to speak over our food, speak to our food as well,
Mhm.
especially now in this time when they're making poison.
Right. But that doesn't include pork, guys. You don't need to pray over no pork.
No.
And the
No,
shrimp.
prayer's not going to help the abominable.
No,
Prayer's not going to help
shrimp,
that.
no crab,
No catfish, shrimp.
no catfish.
No,
Talking about the foods
no,
that
leave
are
it alone.
Oh God, no
That's a
bacon.
good one. Yeah.
Oh,
We
boy.
know that.
Yeah.
It's because if I could pray over it and believe in my spirit that it was okay with Nzambi after I prayed over it, then I probably would have some pork in my freezer right now.
some baby back ribs.
Yeah, but it's nothing in there.
I still will need it. When you look at how pigs are, man, I
Yeah.
still
No.
don't know how people eat that.
Uh,
Oh yeah.
And to
Yeah.
look at a ham, oh, that looks so, and it stinks now.
yes,
Yeah.
it does.
Yeah,
And
it stinks. Yeah.
and you know the way these wicked mundeli are, they make it the cheapest meat on
Mhm.
the market,
Mhm.
the one that people can afford,
Yeah.
especially us.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember times when my father used to come home with a hog head. And man, I tell you, man, he would chop that thing up
Hmm.
and make barbecue out of it. We ain't know no difference. We just ate what he brought home. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's how we started eating it in the first place, because they didn't give us a choice.
right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But you know, that was that time. Tata Nzambi winked then. He ain't
Yeah.
winking
No
Not
more.
now.
now.
Oh, you try some of that now, you might end up leaving.
Right. Right.
When you see those videos about those head in their brain and all this nonsense, I'm like, why do people eat this?
Yeah.
Because no matter how you cook it, that tapeworm doesn't die.
Mm.
Yeah. Isn't that something? How it doesn't die. Man, I tell you, you can fry it, and I don't care how hot that grease is, man. It's still it won't kill it.
Yeah.
Terrible.
And I've
Wow.
seen surgeries where people had it in their brain. They
Oh
had
my goodness.
stomach and it was eating them because like they couldn't put on weight because this thing was eating everything. And when they did the surgery, it was a tapeworm.
Oh my. Oh.
And I'm like, they were pulling out tape. It was so long. I said, I don't know how people eat this, man, after watching stuff like that.
Yeah. Mm.
So the next thing I on the agenda was to talk about this storm. Mama Nicholas,
Yes.
I mean, so Trinidad, normally when the storms come off the west coast, they head up as they hit the Atlantic Ocean, they head up north. So it's very unusual for a storm to head straight to Trinidad and Tobago. And this storm was headed straight at us. The eye was going to hit the island directly. The last time I saw a storm hit Trinidad directly was when I was a little girl. That's how long ago. They normally don't come that way. And so people were bracing because it's rainy season and we have had a lot of rain, you know. So the storm was coming and you know, we were on orange alert and it got up to a red alert, I think, for the country. And they sent people home from work early. It was supposed to hit Monday evening, and so people got sent home from work, and schools were dismissed and all of that. And we were like, everybody, I mean, there was long lines at the grocery stores around the corner, and people was just told to hunker down because we're getting a hit. And so Monday night came, you know, I remember reaching out on a couple of the groups and asking for prayer because this was gonna be a doozy. I was not scared, but you know, you still gotta pray for the people who don't know, who are not awake, who are still in darkness. You got to pray for them because if it affects them, it affects you. So we were told to hunker down, and so Monday came. Long story short, we're still waiting for the storm. it was so miraculous that the weatherman was confused because they were saying the storm was directly over Trinidad, and they're saying like certain parts, oh, it's raining in it's raining in Port of Spain, and they were calling the towns out because their radar showed that it was heavy rain. And I was watching a live report, and the people on the ground are saying, well, we live in Sandy Grande, there's no rain. We live in Port of Spain, there's no rain. We live here, there's no rain.
Wow.
Zombie.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
We don't know where the storm went to.
Oh, Kim.
The storm is over us. This is what our radar is showing. People on the ground. We didn't even get 10 minutes of rain.
Kembo. Hallelujah.
Kembo. I mean, like, that was the first time that I had ever seen anything like that.
Yeah. Wow.
So,
and I know, you know, go ahead, my brother.
So that gives us a glimpse of how Tata Nzambi is going to protect us with what's coming.
With a mighty hand, he said.
Yes.
A mighty hand.
Yes.
It'll be all around us. What is this? 1,000 may fall at our left and 10,000 at our right side, but no evil shall befall us.
Right.
And I remember how he told Abraham, if there are 10 righteous in the city, I will not destroy it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was so amazing because while we were not experiencing anything at all and the storm was directly over us, Grenada, the island next to us, a little north of us, they were experiencing 75 miles per hour wind.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And rain, and this storm passed over us. And they said when it got over Trinidad, it broke up.
Yeah.
It
Wow.
organized.
The prayers of righteous
over us, and the storm reorganized. It came back together in the Caribbean Sea.
After it passed you, it came back together.
It passed us. And right now it's about to hit Central America as a tropical storm.
Wow.
Yes.
It's still going. Like, how do we not understand Tata Nzambi when he said with a mighty hand?
Wow.
Yeah.
The weather forecasters didn't know what to say.
Correct.
They were like, we don't know what to say.
Yeah.
That's not natural for a storm to break up as it passes over and then come back together.
Yes.
That's not natural.
Bear me witness. We all were in Trinidad, hungering down.
Yeah.
And absolutely, we probably got like not even 10 minutes of rain. And I was
wow.
In the scripture in Ezekiel, I put it in the group, chapter 20, 33 through 38 is what y'all was talking about, with the stretched out arm, with the furry poured out.
Yes.
You know, when I first read that scripture, it was, I'd never forget it. It was like I was in the bed, propped in the bed, doing my, some scripture reading at nighttime. I came across that scripture and I got so excited in my spirit. I just wanted to put my clothes on and just run around the block and tell my sister, I'm like, read this. It was just so, my spirit man just got so excited when I read that scripture. I'm like, wow to wow.
Yes. See, like these things increase your faith.
Yes.
We were never taught to read. I remember growing up, everywhere you go, they will hand you the New Testament.
Yes, everywhere.
Right. Old Testament.
I got so excited when I read those passages. I'm telling you the truth. Because one thing we do know for sure that we all can agree on, his word would not return unto him void, but it will accomplish what he said it was going to do. Hallelujah. Kembo.
Hallelujah.
I get excited in my spirit.
Yeah.
Kembo.
Hallelujah. That's what I said, if he wrote it, I can trust it. It's going to come to pass if he spoke it.
Yes, and I just wanted to bring that up and let y'all know, man. If you're losing faith, don't. I have never seen anything like this before. I'm from the Caribbean. I've survived a couple of storms because even though we don't get hit directly, we'll get like the outskirts of the storm. So we usually get a lot of wind and rain. But so I can tell you, I've been in a couple of storms. We live in the tropics. I have never seen, I don't think anybody has ever seen anything like that. I'm telling you, the weatherman was like, where did the storm go? Where our radar is saying it's right over Trinidad and it's raining heavy in all these areas. Where did it go? They could not figure it out.
Wow.
They couldn't figure it out.
And then isn't it interesting how these storms travel the path of the slave ships?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, yes.
It's crazy. Like, you
Yeah.
can't make that up. You can't make that up. Nzambi is so intentional.
Yes.
Even in that he's speaking to us, He's still trying to wake us up. And he's still trying to let us know, I am your father and I got you.
Yes.
I got you.
Gotcha.
How could you not have faith?
And
Go ahead.
it just seems like these people, the Mandela, it just gets more and more dark and wicked every single day.
Yes.
They can't get it. We're two different, as King Mugani, we're different species.
Yeah, if you have no soul, you can't operate as somebody with a soul.
That's so true.
And he said, as it was in the days of Noah. And we're really literally seeing that happening. Imagine Noah was building this ark for like 100 or some years. And they laughed at him. They mocked him. They did everything possible to him. Tata Nzambi was just waiting. And when he got ready, he just brought the animals. Like that alone is a miracle by itself. He brought the animals and they walked on the ark. Mm-hmm. And then he told Noah, all right, go on in. And Tata Nzambi closed the door.
Mm-hmm. They were banging on the ark and Noah couldn't open it.
He did not even trust Noah because he knows us. We have a heart. We have a soul. Right. Sometimes, we want to let somebody in. No. He closed it himself.
He says, I'll seal this. You get in.
That is serious. That doesn't even trust Noah to close the door behind him. He closed the door and sealed it.
But you wonder how Noah's wife must have felt. It had never rained, and here's your husband out there banging on I'm feeling it all.
Like that, and then everybody's making mockery of him.
Making mockery of him, yes.
Your husband is crazy. He's lost his mind.
He lost his mind, man.
Right.
Like it's never rained.
I wonder how much support.
I want my husband to tell the story about the animals.
Okay.
Edward, you remember that part that we read in the scripture where even the animals had to bow down to Noah before coming onto the ark.
Yes.
And even the baby cubs or something turned on the mother.
Right. It was
because the most high said male and female.
He said male and female, and then there was a third one. The third one was I think the mother, and I think the cubs were like a male and female. And they were, and then the mother came up because the mother wanted to get on the boat too. But Tata Nzambi, he turned them against her and they attacked her.
Wow.
She was trying to come. That's in the scripture there.
In Apocrypha,
Yeah, yeah. It's in
I think no,
Jubilees?
I think it's in Jasher.
Jasher. Yes,
Yeah.
it's in Jasher.
But
Yeah.
I guess even the Tata Zombie tested the spirit of the animals, because before they got on the ark, they had to kind of bow down to Noah.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And then after that, those that were really trying to destroy the ark in some kind of way, Tata Zombie turned all of those beasts on them.
Oh, the people that were
Yes.
trying to get in.
Yes,
Wow.
all the rest of the beasts,
Yes.
they were turned on them. Yes, that was
Yes.
something there. Yeah.
Did you imagine the slaughter?
Oh, terrible.
Yeah, man. Tell you, oh, wow. But you
Yeah.
know, I have been places where is I look up and I see this storm and it's coming at me, you know. It's coming in a direction that I'm going, it's coming in the opposite direction that I'm going to, you know, and I see it as like it's walking towards me. But you know, like it's like I can outrun it, you know, or I can make it to where I want to get before it gets me. And then there's times where it's there is a storm, hard pour of rain, maybe 2 blocks down the road, but it's none on the other end, on the other side. Just dry land, no rain at all.
Hmm.
And
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, that's so weird. But the winds
yeah,
and waves obey his will.
Yes.
Even in that,
yes,
you see intentionality, because the Kadi and Pemba, they have money that they stole from us, of course. And they have all the technology and all the money to throw at stuff. But when that cyclone come, when the earthquake come, they can't do a thing. All that
nope.
money that they stole, they can't use it.
And that's something. Yeah,
So, this is the stuff that increases our faith. It's like,
Yes.
Tuesday morning where we were still looking up for the storm and they were like, the storm is past. But like, I felt like a lion because like my faith increased like 1,000 times. I didn't think it was possible. And I'm like, wow, Father,
You know,
Kembo.
Kembo. The last couple of weeks, Roy, daughter, like I was telling you, the regular temperature here has been over 100, not including the heat index. And it's so interesting because you didn't see the Mundele out anywhere. They're normally out. But I would see the Bantu out. It's hot, but we're not getting burned up.
yeah, we're not getting burned up. Yeah, we can bear it. Yeah,
That's why I keep saying in a couple of years, melanin is gonna be king.
yes,
I wish they had melanin. They're gonna have to hide in the caves that they hid in before.
Yes. And
I make
I
wonder why they lived in caves.
yes. And I said, Tata Nzambi, forgive me if I'm wrong, but I am so glad to be able to go out and go places where you don't see them all around.
Yes, exactly.
yeah,
And this
Yeah.
is why they try to get us to bleach our skin. They try to make us feel inferior because they wanted us to join them, get sick like that.
Mhm.
oh yeah. They lay out there in the sun and with that tanning lotion on and then end up getting cancer of the skin. And I tell you, that's something else.
Can't reproduce because because the sun just burnt out their reproductive organs,
Mm-hmm.
from laying out in the sun or going to the tanning bed,
And that sunscreen is dangerous too.
Yeah.
Yes. My dad before he passed, he used to tell them when they would be working outside and there would be Mundele around, he would make them so mad they'd have to run in when it gets hot. And he said they would be, all of the Bantus would still be outside working, and when they come back out when the sun goes down, my dad would tell them, he said, see, if your father would have been if my father would have been your father, you wouldn't have to be running inside out of the sun.
Well, yeah. Let me tell you.
And you know, that comes back to them being in our land, because you know, in a couple of years they won't be able to come step foot on the land because the land will burn them up.
Wow. That is right. So it's preparing itself for us to come.
Yes,
Hallelujah.
hallelujah.
Yes, hallelujah.
And as we go back, the more we go back, the more we will see the milk and honey flow.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, hallelujah.
I mean, that was just amazing to see all that gold just show up in Uganda.
Because
Yes.
many of us that have gone back home,
Mm.
Wow.
it's in us. You know, like, you know, when you watch the forensics, they can tell exactly where any dirt came from by the chemical content. They compare it to that place and they know exactly where it came from. Well, it's the same with us. We are made of the earth, but there's a chemical content that we identify, and the land knows us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, that's deep there.
Wow. So that's
a
probably
beautiful
why,
thing.
and when we get back on the continent, probably a lot of illnesses or whatever we have will go.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
We're
Yes.
back in the right
Yeah.
place.
Oh, yeah.
And eating decent food, real food.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's gonna spit up gold and diamonds and precious stones.
Wow.
Ah man, Nzambi, Kembo.
So they will have to come to see their goal now is to try to go all electric. But in order to go electric, they need coltan and all of
Yes.
these other. Well, they're going to have to come to Congo to get all that.
Yep.
Yeah,
And they're going to have to,
step foot on it because it's gonna be too hot.
right. So they have to come to us and we'll make the contracts.
Yes, that's why they said they're gonna hang on to your skirt and beg you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sorry, we don't have any.
That's why doing all these experiments with melanin now. It's not for reproduce it, but they can't keep it alive. You know, they can't keep it alive, and it lives only in our body.
Wow.
And even with chemical makeup that will keep it in your body, because like their pineal gland is calcified. What they try, they can't, because their chemical compound, the chemical makeup of their body doesn't let it form in their body. So Nzambi was intentional.
He knew.
Yeah.
He always knew.
So isn't it interesting how now they're encouraging their women to marry Bantus and vice versa?
Yes, and that gets on my nerves.
Me
But-
too.
But think about this. Just a few years ago, if their women were wanting to be with a Bantu, they would want to lynch the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now they want you to get with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then Tata Nzambi said he will cleanse our blood that he had not cleansed before.
Yes.
Yes.
So
Some of the wealthiest white men have a black wife, if you noticed.
yes,
Yes.
yes, that is intentional too.
Mm-hmm. keep their bloodline going.
But see,
Yeah.
it doesn't work that way for them.
No,
Nope.
They found that out when they came back from the Babylonian exile and they brought out the books. And Tata Zambia said, these people here, you're going to have to get rid of them, send them back. And that's exactly what's going to happen on a grand scale.
Yeah. Oh, that was in Nehemiah, when all those foreign women came and those men had to let them go.
Even the children, they had to
Yeah,
let the children go too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I read that before too.
Even the Levitical priesthood was married to these Chaldean because they were Chaldean.
Wow.
The Chaldeans were the
Mhm.
what if we do it, it's called voodoo. But if they
It's magic.
it's
Yeah.
Magic.
Chaldean, the Babylonian kingdom swallowed up the Chaldean kingdom. And the Chaldeans, they were the biggest voodoo workers in the world, magicians in the world. There's nobody that has ever surpassed them.
Wow.
And so the Babylonians used them as their magicians.
Mm.
So those are the people who are people married in Babylon. But Nzambi had another thing for them when they got back to the land. He said, find the books and read and tell them they got to go.
Wow.
Got to go.
Because Tata Nzambi created DNA. He
Mhm.
knows whose DNA is who.
Yeah.
And so he intentionally picked Jacob and the DNA of Jacob. He tested Jacob in order to put his name on him.
Yes.
He knew the horrors that the children of Jacob would endure. And he wanted a bloodline that could endure and was resilient enough to make it to this point. So when Jacob fought with the angel, Jacob fought with all because his family was close by. He was a pencil pusher, what we call a pencil pusher. He was not a man of the field. He was not a fighter. But he understood that his family was right there and he was going to fight to his last breath. And so because Tata Nzambi saw that he was willing to fight, he had that resilience on him. Tata Nzambi put his name on him.
Wow. He told the angel, I'm not letting you go.
Correct. He said,
Until
I
you
not
bless
only
me.
am I gonna fight you, you're gonna give me my blessing.
Mhm.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? You're gonna speak over me
Mhm.
and my family. Because now he's thinking, well, maybe there's more predators out there for my family. So he gonna speak over my family. We gonna be safe. So
Wow.
it comes down to the DNA. And you know, I always look at the ladder that ascended to heaven, and it looks like a strand of DNA.
Yes.
So there's a double meaning with that.
Yeah.
His DNA was the DNA that ascended to heaven through Isaiah.
Mhm.
But he had the DNA. When they spoke about he that endured to the end, they were speaking about Jacob. Jacob, he that endured to the end. So that is what we have in our DNA. So that is why our DNA now is coming alive. Our
Wow.
DNA, our ancestors are coming alive within us. Her DNA is calling up gold out of the ground.
Mhm.
Imagine that.
Wow.
That's a powerful revelation right there.
That is.
Yeah.
We have been activated.
Mhm.
Wow.
This is
So
why we
that's
have to be so responsible.
so that's how I've had these. Tata Nzambi has given me these visions of doing things like flying and controlling the weather.
Yes,
That's how that's happened, because the activation is coming.
those are gifts. Yes, yes. We have been activated.
It's just building now.
Yes, yes. So we have to do that work. We have to work on ourselves. Because you know, the thing about Tata Nzambi and his kingdom is all about discipline. You have discipline in every aspect of your life.
That's why we have to work on our thoughts.
Correct. We have
Yeah.
so much to work on, you know, and that's what connects with the prayer, because when we pray for our brethren to come online, we go online. The more people that are coming online, the more we go online. So that's why it's important to pray for them and be careful of the words we use with them.
Yes, absolutely.
Because it bounces back.
Yeah, that's why shadow work is important.
Shadow work.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, shadow work, deep introspection.
Correct. The mirror man. Look in the mirror. Yes, because he said, as much as you do to the least, you do to the greatest. Because we're all interconnected. We used to speak through telepathy.
Yes.
So we're all literally interconnected. So if you speak good to your brother, you speak good to yourself. If you speak bad to your brother, you speak bad to yourself. We are part of the, you know, in sci-fi movies, they say the collective. They were speaking about us.
Yeah.
We're part of the collective. You know, in a Star Trek, the cyborgs, I think they had to go and plug in every night.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they understood each other's thoughts and everything. They were talking about us.
Yeah.
And there's been a new series, I was told, that came out on Netflix about them opening up about a portal that has been opened. Well, they're trying to open this portal on the 5th of July with CERN.
Is that Stranger Things?
Stranger Things is what I heard it's called.
It's called
Yes.
Stranger Things. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's one of the reasons that we came online, that we have been active. So we have to think about that. We have to think, we have a choice to make, whether we still want to stay activated or not. But it's a huge responsibility. That's why he said we're kings. We're not just regular citizens. We're kings and priests. You must have a priest to have a king.
And it says that when you call your brother a fool, you're in danger of hellfire. He's talking about
That's right.
us. That's when we curse. It's basically that's cursing your brother, and we're not supposed to do that. We are not supposed to do that.
Yes.
Yes. So you know, I look at how, you know, they have all these presidents, all these people that did evil, the Kadi and Pemba. You will never hear them say that this one was evil and that one was evil.
They do. They don't. They stick together. That's for sure.
Everybody sticks together but us. But that's going to change because we're going to speak it into existence.
Right.
Yes.
Why do they have statues of Columbus and Leopold and all these people, evil people all over the world? They don't they don't speak of them as evil. They know we're the only one who speak of each other as evil. I say to people, listen, I will never stand up and speak against a brother that looks like me. I don't care if he's evil. I
Well,
will
what? Yes,
not voice it because I will not give my power to that.
yes.
Mhm.
You know, even the panhandlers on the street, I try to keep, you know, some small cash on me. When I see one of my brothers on the corner, I'm not to judge. I'm going to help my brother or sister that I see on the corner, because by the
Mhm,
grace of Tata Nzambi, that could be me.
It might be a
mhm.
You know, and
don't
then
know.
and
It
then
might
you know, if they're telling the lie, that's
And
Watch
between
ta-ta.
that.
them and
That's
Yeah.
it.
Nzambi. But I'm making it a point now. When I see my brother or sister on the corner, I'm gonna bless them with something.
yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I had that, I saw a Bantu brother that I was walking one morning and he looked like he was homeless and he was sitting down and I went in my pocket. I said, I got some change. That's all I got, but I'm going to go back and give it to him. So I went back and I asked, how are you doing this morning, brother? He said, I'm doing okay. I said, well, I'm going to give you this. This is all I have, but I want to give. He said, thank you. Thank you. Do you know, I got ready to walk around the corner of the building. I looked around. I couldn't find him.
Mm.
I'm like, where
Yeah, I've done that
did
before.
he go?
I've done that before and they disappeared.
They could be
Mhm.
angels. They could be
Literally
angels
Maliki.
unaware.
disappeared.
Maliki, yes.
Yeah, and we're being the ones tested to see we're gonna, you know, cast judgment on that person or curse that person or whatever. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Because we have to unlearn all this envy and hatred and jealousy that we have learned for each other. And
Yes.
start so we get tested all the time to see
Mm.
how people respond. And
You know,
that's important.
they would say things like, oh, you got to be careful about going in your pocket because you might get robbed, you might get mugged. You know, they'd be telling us all kind of stuff like that.
Of course, of course, of course. As the most horrible people in the world,
Mhm.
they transfer themselves onto us, and we
Mhm.
have to send it back to them. No, you are the most horrible people in the world.
Exactly. They are.
Like it's incredible how for so long we have allowed that. You know, we have allowed that. One person told me one time, oh, why don't y'all leave our country? I said, as soon as y'all pay me for my ancestors' work, I'm leaving. I'll be happy to. But they have gotten away with that for so long that we started to believe it. Like, you people are horrible and we're thugs. No, you are. We sending it back. And that's what we gotta do. Send it back.
Yeah. But they don't want us to go. Don't you know they're fascinated with us?
They know that if we leave, that country is gone.
Mhm.
Yes.
Because you could see it slowly deteriorating.
When China kicked out our people just before the COVID. China kicked out our people. You see what's going on in China.
Yes.
Goodness. Is there going to be any of China left?
No, that's
No,
why they're trying
no.
to go
To
over
get to
Africa.
Africa. That's exactly right.
That is what even when all those companies that they have over there, they don't hire our people
No.
there. They ship their own criminals over there to work.
But see,
in Africa.
my perspective on it is like, I don't have a problem with them going over there and work, because I remember when the ancient Isolele got into the land, and so let them go over there and build for us.
Mhm.
Yeah, because we're supposed to live in houses that we don't build.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let them be, because I know even in that Tata Nzambi, his work and his plan. So let him go build, because you know they have towns. The Chinese have whole cities in Africa. They call them ghost towns.
Wow. No one lives there?
Yeah, nobody lives there. And they have like it's all solar powered and beautiful apartments, more than high-tech stuff. Just type it in, ghost towns, and you'll see they have them all over the world. They have a lot in Africa. Nobody lives there.
Yeah.
Beautiful towns. with
So that,
It's for
Oh,
us.
that's where, that's
I
for
thought that was
us.
just in China. They have them in Africa too.
No, they have it in Africa too.
The Arabs do that as well too. They
Okay.
build little cities.
They're
and no
in
one
trouble
lives
too,
there.
because they are still enslaving us.
yeah, they were the first ones
Think.
Yeah.
before the transatlantic slave trade.
Yep.
Yes.
That's what they
Uh,
think. But when it gets hot, they're gonna have to run too.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
That's why
So
they
they-
cover up. So
And that's why they only come out at night.
just evil.
Yeah, but even the night's gonna be hot.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So yeah, so they're building the infrastructure up for us. That's
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know Nzambi has a plan in everything that happens.
Yes. Yes.
yes.
They,
That's
in Uganda, they were given a contract to refine that gold that they found. But
for
Uganda, they don't have the technology. So it's okay. It's okay. Let them teach them. It's
Mm.
okay.
a 21-year contract. Now, come on, 21 years.
Don't make it that long.
They won't.
Tata Nzambi's just keeping them long enough so they can train the people that's there. That's
And then
all right.
have to take ships back to China to get around over China.
Yeah, if we could find it, like
That's true.
there's so much flooding.
Yes.
I have
Oh.
never seen flooding like that. Like the streets look like rivers.
Yep. They're in boats.
Cars floating down the
Cars
street.
floating.
Going down the street, going into the sea. Hundreds
Yeah.
of cars.
Wow.
And like mountains, whole mountains are coming down. Like liquefaction. I have never, I learned about liquefaction in our school. But you literally see the earth becoming liquid and just moving.
Mud.
Whole houses just moving like a river.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen
Everybody
that.
changing zip codes.
Wow. I saw a video recently where this Chinese supervisor, I think it was in Congo, was not, he did something. There was a Congolese worker there under him, and he was being rude to him or screaming at him or something. He pushed the Congolese guy, and the Congolese brother slapped him.
Yeah, I remember that one.
And I thought, good. So now they're
Yeah.
not taking that anymore.
No.
Oh,
Good.
good. Finally.
Yeah.
This is the reason they want to keep them down. But we have come online. See, Judah must go first. Praise. Judah is praised. The Bible said in the fourth generation is Judah, because Judah was the fourth child.
Mm-hmm.
The first three, they could not give the right of inheritance because of the sins that they committed. So Judah is the fourth. And Satan Nzambi told Abraham in the fourth generation, which is 400 years, in the fourth generation, because Abraham was 100 years old when Isaac was born. So a generation for Abraham is 100 years.
Mm.
That in the fourth generation,
Mm-hmm.
it will come again.
Yes,
Judah is the fourth generation.
Yeah.
And when Judah comes online,
Mm.
Judah will wake up the rest of the world.
Mm.
Yes.
Congolese brother get online.
That's what's happening.
Rap,
Yes.
and we see them coming online.
Yes.
Why we have
Yes.
to pray. We have to keep praying because this is the most dangerous time in our journey.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
See all these murders and all these crazy things that are happening. They are throwing spirits in here, left and right.
Yes.
We are at war, serious war. And we have to respond with peace like Isaiah did.
Mm-hmm.
We have to respond with our weapon, prayer. Because that's the one thing we have always known that they are terrified of. That's why we weren't allowed to practice our religion. Because they're terrified of our prayer.
The spirituality of the bond.
Yes. Yes. So Judah must go first. Judah must praise. We are that generation.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
We have to pick up the mantle,
Mhm.
take the baton, and run the race. Because we in the last leg of the race.
Yeah.
Or that's going to be a glorious time. Woo! Glorious time.
What a powerful time. What a powerful time. So, like they say, we keep saying the darkness is for us, not to us. I mean, we will experience some rough patch, but it's nothing compared to what they're gonna go through. While Egyptians was in darkness, our ancestors were in light.
Mm.
And it's amazing how
Yeah.
all of a sudden the last couple of years they came out with all these superhero movies, but it's really us.
Yeah.
We're the
Yeah.
superheroes.
Yes, we are.
They're thinking they're terrified.
Yes.
So, brethren, it has been wonderful. It has been a wonderful session.
Yes,
I'm
it has.
sitting here thinking, while y'all are talking, my mind was taking me back to the times when we were under these bishops, and it was like we followed this man. I mean, if he said he was going to Baltimore to preach,
Mm-hmm.
we would
There
get
you
in
go.
the car and go and drive all to Baltimore just to hear that sermon. Just so when he could stand up and say, all my people stand up. And then we would stand up and
Proudly.
represent him. It's just like, wow, I'm thinking about that. Wow, how we were like dedicated to this man.
Like sheeple.
Yeah. And man, I'm so glad to get out of there.
Hallelujah.
It's a
It's
privilege.
yeah, it
It's
will.
a privilege. It's not a
Yes,
right.
and I think of those who are still there now that they're just like they got shackles on them because they can't leave. They
Yes.
can't leave. When we left the church, I remember one young lady, she was standing there crying because we were leaving. And I'm saying, oh, wow, but we got up out of that church. My wife left first, so she wanted to leave first, and but I came later. But I'm so glad I followed her. And those pastors, they are just wicked and all. I even remember one pastor standing up and he was bragging about how many BMWs he got. He was getting ready to get another one. But I said,
Isn't that
yeah,
pitiful?
with our money, right?
Pitiful.
Yes.
Nobody else taking a bus.
Walking. Yeah.
Hey, and like, what was it? Was it Creflo that said he needed another jet?
Yes.
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 Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was in it. I mean, part of it.
Part of
I'm
it.
ashamed to tell it, but I'm gonna tell it. Yes, I was.
Never be ashamed of any part of your journey because it brought you
Exactly.
here.
Yes, it did. Woo,
Yeah,
thank you,
amen.
Father.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, the church that I was a part of, they were doing church anniversary or pastor anniversary, I can't remember. And the first lady was like, give us your rent money, your mortgage, and we'll worry about it later. We'll
Oh
Ooh,
my
Oh,
goodness.
yeah.
You know,
And
people
isn't
were
that
really
something?
doing it because that's the first lady, you know, like,
That's wicked.
yeah.
mm,
So she was
mm.
like, just give us your money and we'll worry about your rent later.
Yeah,
I was
Man,
like,
yeah.
oh,
we was,
But you'll be
we was-
out
yeah.
on the street.
Yeah,
wow. Yep.
they wouldn't help you.
Sure.
Uh,
Mm-mm.
Or you have
no.
to fill out an
They wouldn't even
application.
give you
Okay.
money for your utilities.
They
Right.
sure
Okay, I'll
won't.
pray with you. Let me pray with you. That's all they're offering.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
That's all they're offering.
Yeah.
But next time you come, you make sure you bring that seed.
Mhm.
That
Oh my.
tithes
Yeah.
and
Yes.
offering.
That
And if
Yeah.
you don't bring your seed, then they come against you.
you sow a seed. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's how you know it was a spiritual captivity.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was.
Cause,
Mhm.
cause you, it's like you're under a spell.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
that's why they use the
Dude.
church to write the edicts for us because they talk about how Haiti did a voodoo spell.
Mm-hmm.
No, they did a spell on us.
A spell.
They did.
Sure did.
Use the church to write the edict for slavery because it wasn't just simple writing. They wrote it on children's skin, our children's skin, in our children's
Yes.
blood.
Mm.
Yeah.
It was a blood covenant. That's
Mm.
why people can't get out from it.
Mm.
That
Wow.
that's why we have to pray.
Hmm. You know, even with those that are coming out, I have a friend that she still glorifies Jesus, and it just kind of makes me spellbound to hear her still say it, because she's the reason why I came out of the church.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah. I have a friend the same way. She says, I know that my mom has been healed and people in our family have been healed when we use the name JC. So I'm going to use this name until he tells me otherwise. You can go ahead and use zombie or whatever, but I'm going to use JC because I know
Yeah.
I get healed from that. My
Yeah.
family get. I
Mm.
said, well, I
Mm.
said, do you think they really getting healed? Or
Yeah.
is that just like something that maybe the enemy could give them a little temporary relief?
Yeah.
Mm.
Put a Band-Aid on it.
Yeah.
You know, this is the reason why Abraham made covenant with Nzambi himself. Because nobody else could take us out of this spell.
Mhm.
The sacrifices that Abraham made, he had to cut them in two, one for Judah, one for Israel. And Nzambi passed through them and made covenant with him. It was that so we could wake up in this time.
Mhm.
Wow.
Those
Hallelujah.
sacrifices, that covenant that he made when he gave the 10% to Melchizedek, it was so that we could wake up in this time.
Mm.
That's
Wow.
how deep,
Yes.
witchcraft went to entrap us.
Mm.
This is why we have to feel bad for our brothers who are still
in. Yes, absolutely.
and it is on us to pray for them, because when we watch and we understand that that was us
Yes.
years ago, 5
Years
years ago.
ago, yes. It sure was. Mm.
But for the grace of Nzambi,
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
it's a privilege. We are privileged. This is a gift to wake up, to be awake, to have eyes to see and ears to hear. It is a gift.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Because if
Yes.
you remember, if you look back on those times, it's like you were literally walking in darkness.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes,
You
Definitely.
were.
absolutely were.
Right.
We have to understand that it was so important that Abraham had to make a covenant with Tata Nzambi himself.
Mm.
That we could wake up. That sacrifice that he made, that covenant that he made, was so that we could wake up out of the darkness that we were in.
Mhm.
So, I want everybody to think about that as we go about our daily routine. Think about it. And every time you remember it, say a prayer for your
Yeah.
brother
Yes.
and perhaps.
Yes. And it's always one of us, it's always the one that looks like you that betrays you, you know. And even when the ships came over, we were betrayed by people that look like us. And the same thing here is what's going on here is that we have these pastors, what do you say, packing pastor great bacon grease and and pastor pork chop.
Pass the pork chop.
Yeah, pastor pork chop, you know,
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, they are the ones that actually betraying us because they are leading us and they know what the truth is, but they want the money, the finances that will allow them not that will make them not tell us the truth, and they just keep on leading us in their direction to the point where we are confined because we believe this person, but all along we are being betrayed by him.
Mm. Yeah, like Creflo and Kenneth Copeland, because they were
Yes.
that
Yeah.
they were one.
And I was thinking once when I think Jesse Duplantis said that God told him he wanted him to have a bigger jet, and he went to the congregation. Well, I got to thinking even before I was awakened, but if God wanted you to have it, you wouldn't have to go to the congregation. He could just give it to you.
Go get it.
Sure wouldn't.
Exactly.
Right.
You see the blindness?
Yeah, and you see the dupeness, the spell that they're under, because that's what they do. And then they open up their little pockets and just throw it at them.
Oh yeah.
But
Joseph.
you know,
Mhm.
go ahead,
ahead.
sister. I was just gonna say, Tata Nzambi's got something for these pastors. It's something coming for them.
Joseph's
it-
brothers sold him into slavery. And we're in right now. Our brothers sold us. Joseph's
Yes.
brothers sold him. And so his brothers ended up in bondage too. The whole nation ended up in bondage
Mm.
because of them, one brother selling another brother.
Wow.
I
And
know
it-
I was in bondage, having sleep paralysis for years, and I was in the church, and I went to the first lady, and she told her, and she was like, "Well, you need to go seek counseling." And I was like, "Okay."
What are you?
The church
That's
said
what I was doing.
Yeah, she told me I need to seek counseling. Well, since I've been in the truth, I'm still having them. I still was having them, but I wasn't calling them the right name. I was saying Yah, Yahuwah. But this past week, since learning about Tata and Nzambi, when I was in
Hallelujah.
the trance or whatever, and I said his name, I could hear the demons fleeing.
Hallelujah.
Kembo,
Kembo.
Natata Nzambi.
And I've
Yeah.
been dealing with this for years.
Thank you. Thank you, Tata.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Matondo Masaka.
Hallelujah. Kembo.
Thank you for your testimony.
Yes. Get
Powerful.
that.
Yes.
You know,
Mhm.
I had a question about the name because, you know, like there was so much controversy about the name and all of that. And I prayed about it. And so one night I went to sleep and I would dream that I was on this wall and standing in front of the sea. And I was on this wall and this huge wave, like a 10-foot wave came. There were some people playing volleyball on the beach. This huge wave came and went over them and was coming directly at me on top of this wall. And I'm standing there like, who should I call? And I said, Tata Nzambi. And the water froze.
Hallelujah.
Oh,
Hallelujah.
Froze.
hallelujah.
I said, I woke up, I jumped up out of my bed and I said, thank you, Father, for showing me.
Yes.
Get the
So
I
if you have a question, you ask him.
yes.
Yes.
I had heard the testimony of the sister that just gave the testimony, and I had an issue, whereas every time my wife and we would go out to dinner, I'm sitting there and on the other side of her, and I would literally nod out, go to sleep right in front of her, I mean, she was looking at me getting so, she was so ticked off, mad, boy. Here I am with this beautiful woman in front of me and I'm falling asleep. And even at home, we're sitting here eating dinner and I'm just eating, I'm enjoying this meal, and then next thing you know, I'm nodding out, and then I open my eyes and I look at her. She said, "What you looking at me for?" She's looking at me fall asleep, and like embarrassment. But I said that same prayer to Tata Zami the other day. I said, I don't want to fall asleep in front of my wife. I don't want to get sleepy when I'm driving this vehicle. Tata Zami, please help me. Take this away. And it hasn't happened in a few days. We was out to have dinner the other day and I didn't fall asleep. Did I?
No, you didn't.
Kembo,
No, I didn't, did I? Yes.
Oh, he was ready to dance. You were ready to dance after that.
Yeah, man. Yes, I haven't been falling asleep because I prayed and asked him to take it away.
Take it away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kembo,
He's powerful. Yes. Yeah.
wow. And just think of all these years and these generations, we forgot the name.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We didn't know it.
Away from it.
Yeah.
Yes. Wow.
We had just been severed from that.
My God. And I can only imagine how the creation, the earth is hearing it again from the bottom of it, how creation is like, where have you been?
Yeah. That's why we're coming online.
Mm-hmm.
And song of Queen Nadra, Matondo, for sharing
Yes.
your testimony.
Yes.
Yes,
That was a powerful testimony.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tears just flowing,
Yes.
from me now.
We need
That's a powerful testimony.
Yes.
Because my first time coming into the group, Konzi Kangi invited me, and I shared with everybody that I had a problem because I couldn't understand, and part of my problem is too analytical. I be trying to figure so many things out in my mind. But it's not my mind, it's my heart. Yeah. But I give praise to Tata Nzambi because of his mercy and his love toward me, and him knowing that I just had confusion and just couldn't understand, you know, the name Natata Nzambi. I'm like, and I just would never forget how he spoke to me. You know, I share with people and they can believe me or not believe me. When I tell them he spoke to me and told me I am Natata Nzambi. And it's like even certain songs I listen to that sing about his name, tears just flow automatically from me. It's just so beautiful, you know, and you know, none of us should ever be ashamed. I'm not saying that we are, but none of us should never be ashamed as to how small we think our testimony is, or how small we think something is. It could be huge. It could be life-changing.
Yes.
You know, to someone
Somebody.
else.
Yes, that's true.
You know, the same way we had zeal when we was back in the church calling
Mm.
JC, inviting the masses to church. You know, we should have that same zeal, triple, double, quadruple, you know, to be just that more excited to talk about and praise Natata Nzambi.
Yes.
It's just a beautiful thing. And I just wanted to encourage you,
Yes.
Queen Nadra, to continue to share your story.
Yes.
You know, continue to share your testimony. It's a
Hallelujah.
beautiful testimony.
It
Yes.
is.
Hallelujah. Kembo, Kembo.
Hallelujah.
I
Hallelujah.
rejoice with you. I praise him with you.
Yes.
Hallelujah.
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 Kembo,
That
Kim.
name is just so precious. Nzambi.
Powerful.
It's powerful.
Hallelujah.
Yes.
Very powerful.
You know, a quick testimony when my mom passed, transitioned. Yeah, she's alive. When I walked into the ICU, I got there maybe a couple of minutes right after she had transitioned. And the first thing that rolled out of my mouth, of course, I started crying, but the first thing that rolled out of my mouth, out of my spirit, was I called on Nzambi. And I started saying, Kembo, Kembo, Nzambi, Yama, Zulu. His name rolled up out of my spirit as I was praising him as she was.
Word have I in my heart. You know, that scripture, that word have I hid in my heart.
That might not sin against thee.
It's only now that I understand that fully, you know, because it has a double meaning. And nobody understood Natata Nzambi like David. The word is the word, his word. The old, what we call the Old Testament, is the word. But the word is also the one that sent me. All through the scriptures, you will hear them say, the word of Natata Nzambi came to me, the word of Natata Nzambi. And the word is the spirit that Messiah carries.
Yes. So
the word was hid in his heart. When you hide something, you don't know what's gonna come up.
You're right.
It'll come up by its own. You know, when something is hidden, it wants to appear when it wants to appear. Like when we play hide and seek, you will show up when you feel like showing up.
That's right.
So the word, because it's hidden, so it's hidden. So even he can't bring it. The word will come when it wants to come. That's what you experience when you needed that. The word came forward. And that's so powerful because I think we all experience at times when you need it, that Natata Nzambi comes forward.
Yes.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I used to it was hard to come out of in Jesus' name, in JC's name, but